I glided between two of the huge columns, careful not to brush them. As I did, my feelings of wonder and privilege suddenly gave way to a more basic concern. How much air did I have left? I was about a kilometre from the exit of a flooded cave, 30 metres beneath the scrub jungle of the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. I could simply have checked my pressure gauge to see what was left in the tank, but my third and final torch had just given out. My dive partner and I were now floating motionless in the most exquisite blackness. Zadine wasn't having a good day either. All three of his lights had also gone, and he had already run out of air. He was now attached to me in the pitch dark via my spare regulator hose, noisily sucking up my precious reserves. Luckily, I still had my hand on the guideline. This 4mm thick nylon thread was the only physical connection between us and the exit. 6 torch failures, 2 valves blown, and 1 catastrophic loss of an air supply between us in less than 20 minutes. If I hadn't had a big lump of plastic in my mouth, I would have let out a long sigh. Instead, I groped around for Zadine's hand, placed it on the line in front of mine, oriented his thumb towards what I hoped was our way out, and gave his arm 2 strong pushes, the universal signal amongst cave divers for, let's get the fuck out of here. If we died before making it back to the beautiful Cenote Eden, the sinkhole where this dive had started nearly 2 hours earlier, it would be the 4th time that day, so I was determined we were going to surface alive. We swam blindly with the thumb and forefinger of our left hands forming an O shape around the slender line. Every few minutes our gloves would strike the rocks and stumps of old stalagmites where the guideline had been secured. In the darkness, all of these junctions had to be negotiated with delicacy and precision to ensure that we didn't dislodge the line, lose contact with it, or inadvertently turn off the route to safety and into a side passage. After 30 minutes of silent effort, the inky blackness turned to deepest blue, and finally the pale green of Cenote Eden. The emergency training drill was over. We were both still theoretically and actually alive. I hung motionless in the shadows, allowing the excess nitrogen time to slowly seep out of my blood and body tissues. I felt relieved, relaxed, at peace. At the age of 39, I'd found my element. Water. But I'd had to cut through a lot of air to reach it. Chapter 1. The Wirral. Stranded between the Dee estuary and the Mersey, the Wirral Peninsula struggles a bit for an identity of its own. The posher part believe it's Cheshire's long-lost cousin, while the northern fringe would desperately like to be recognised as an annex of Liverpool, so much so that the inhabitants have been christened plastic scousers by the true Liverpudlians. I grew up in the village of Hoylake, in a quiet cul-de-sac where kids played outside and dads worked on their cars. If people know Hoylake at all, it's probably for the Royal Liverpool Golf Club, one of the best links courses in the country. I couldn't have cared less about golf. The focal point of my childhood was Hoylake's other distinguishing feature, its huge open-air seawater swimming pool. My obsession with water predates my memory of it. Long before I could swim, I was perfectly comfortable being in water way over my head. My strategy was to stay below the surface and bounce up off the bottom when I needed to breathe. I was addicted to Jacques Cousteau programs on TV. I wore my first pair of flippers to bed. My birthday present every year was a season ticket to the pool, and throughout the summer months, no matter what the weather, I'd be there. When it was freezing and the place was deserted, I'd be the lone figure diving under the springboards to look for change on the bottom, where it invariably fell from people's pockets as they bounced up and down. I'd then run across the cold stone floor to the coin-operated showers and use my prize to warm up. I loved it. I wasn't a complicated lad. And if I wasn't in the baths, then I was in the sea, usually in my canoe, surfing in on the waves and enjoying the freedom of an unsupervised 1970s childhood. On land, family life revolved around my parents' great love, bike racing. On Thursday nights we'd go to Huntingdon just outside Chester, where my dad would ride a 10-mile club time trial. Afterwards we'd head to the pub next to the start area, the Rake and Pikel, and there'd usually be chips eaten by the River Dee on the way home. At weekends we'd be woken at 5 a.m. and crammed full of toast before piling into the hand-painted family minivan to head off for an early morning race, my dad's bike strapped to the roof. Afterwards I'd hang round the curbside results board and listen proudly.